Get ready with me to go to the gym. Most people think their emotions are honest. I don't. I've realized I don't see emotions the way most people do. I don't see them as something to follow. I see them as something to notice. And because we're emotional by nature, most people never question what that actually means. They just feel something and immediately become it. Whatever it is that they're feeling, they become it. They feel sad and their whole day becomes heavy. They feel unmotivated and everything stops. They feel uncertain and suddenly nothing feels right. Don't get me wrong, I've been there. And it looks normal because everyone does it. But if you really pay attention, that's where people lose direction. Not because of the emotion itself, but because how quickly they attach to it. I started noticing something. The same emotion doesn't lead to the same outcome ever. Two people can experience the exact same feeling, and one of them completely collapses into it, while the other keeps moving like nothing has changed. So at some point, I stopped focusing on the emotion and I started paying attention to what sits behind it, because there is always something there. A perspective, an assumption, a quiet interpretation that happens so fast, most people don't even realize it's there. But it is. And once you start noticing that, you can't unsee it. You start to realize that emotions don't just appear out of nowhere. They follow something. They follow the way that you're seeing a situation, the meaning you're assigning to it, the story you're telling yourself. Even if you're not fully aware of it, that's the part that changes everything. Because most people think their life is a reflection of how they feel. But if you look closer, it's actually a reflection of how they interpret things. And that interpretation is what keeps repeating their patterns. That's why some people stay stuck for years. Not because their circumstances never change, but because their perspective doesn't. They keep seeing things the same way. They keep feeling the same way. They keep making the same decision, and it just loops over and over again. And from the outside, it looks like life is just happening to them. But when you really break it down, it's not that simple. There is always something deeper driving it. That's why I don't immediately trust emotions. Call me a Capricorn or don't. I like to hold my emotions. I like to look inwards whenever the time is right. But when I have something to do, I do it. That's why I don't immediately trust emotions, not because they're wrong, but because they're influenced. They're shaped by perception. They're reinforced by patterns. You end up living in reaction without even realizing it. You think you're responding to life, but you're responding to your interpretation of it. And those two are completely different things. Once I understood that, I couldn't go back to experiencing the same emotions the same way. There's always a layer behind it now. There's always that moment of awareness where I can see the emotion, but I can also sense what's feeding it. And that creates distance. Not detachment in a cold way, but clarity. It's the difference between being inside the emotion and being able to observe it at the same time. And that shift is subtle, but it changes everything about how you move, because your actions aren't automatic, they're chosen. most people don't realize how much power is in that space and that small gap between what you feel and what you do next. That's where everything is decided. Your habits, your consistency, your direction, everything. And yet, it's the one place people do not look. They stay focused on feeling itself, trying to fix it, avoid it, or understand it, but rarely question what's creating that emotion. After a while, it starts to feel like identity. Like, this is just who I am, but it's not. It's a pattern. It's a repeated way of seeing. And once you start to recognize that, you start to see how much of your life is shaped by something most people don't even notice.